This is a building without a name. Even the address is spoken quietly. I had been cleared by at least 20 security officers before they gave the street number to me. Today was an important one for World Aircraft Corporation, the U.S. Army Air Forces, and Les Benson, a very old friend. I was the only civilian present, without a real mission for being here. Les Benson had arranged for me to see the first test of his new jet. I don't know anything about jets except that they make a lot of noise and fly fast. It struck me as strange that this jet test was taking place about 20 miles from this room. I wondered how they figured to watch it, or how they could determine its success. The other civilian had to be Jim Cartwright, vice president in charge of engineering. He headed for me.
Mr. Lang? Yeah. Well, Les Benson's told me a lot about you. I'm glad to see you.
The plane's at 70,000 feet. Test about to commence.
Gentlemen, you are about to witness the second test of the plane, which we feel will revolutionize our thinking in regard to interplanetary travel. Of course, everything you see and hear is strictly top secret. Now, this radar scope machine will track the progress of the F-109B for us.
Test commencing. 68,000, 66,000, 64,000, 60,000, 60,000, 55,000, 50,000, 45,000, 40,000, 35,000, 30,000.
Request security at the scene of the crash.
There was nothing anyone could say. The test was a failure, and the pilot was dead. I thought about Les Benson, and I decided it might be wise to see him.
Well, here's to old times.
Yes, they are the only ones that matter, aren't they?
All through dinner, I had the feeling that things weren't right between Les and Martha. It wasn't what they said. They acted friendly enough. Maybe that's what it was. They were acting. Perhaps it was because of the test failure this afternoon. You any idea what went wrong today, Les?
Maybe it was because I designed it.
All these things happen. But it was strange, seeing the death of a man 20 to 30 miles away through the eyes of a machine.
What do you mean?
Mike's talking about the radar scope. Plane flies too high to see with the naked eye. That little machine tells the whole story. Success, failure, life or death.
Who was the pilot?
Well, it had to be Kevin Law. He was the only one left checked out in the F-109B. Let's not talk about it anymore, huh, Mike?
Okay.
Good night, dear.
Night, sweetie.
When are you going to come back again to Mommy and me?
You shove off, Princess.
Good night, hon.
Good night, Uncle Mike.
Well, I hate to break up a big evening, but I have to get packed. I'm leaving town tomorrow. Nice seeing you again, Martha. Les.
That makes us even.
Night. I hadn't learned much about the F-109B, but I'd learned about Les and Martha. They'd broken up. Little Jib had tossed the clincher. I wanted to know what had caused their trouble, but because they had invited me into their home, didn't mean they had invited me into their lives. I tried to tell myself to mind my own business, but it didn't help. Martha.
Oh, Mike, I'm sorry to disturb you so late, but I had to wait for my sister to come over to sit with Jib. Mike, something's happened to Les. Something's happened to the both of us.
What's happened, Martha?
Well, it started about 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, sit down, huh?
It was just after World Aviation promoted Les. He stopped flying, and they put him in charge of a high-speed electronic control unit.
What's that?
Well, I'm not sure. I know the company thought it was very important, and the Air Corps gave it its highest priority. Les was very proud and happy. It was connected somehow with the F-109B. He used to work on it day and night. And, well, then one night he didn't come home, and he hasn't been home since, Mike.
Well, what about tonight? He was...
Well, after you telephoned me, I called Les and told him you were coming to dinner. He said he'd be there when you arrived. I even cautioned Jib not to say anything, but... Well, after all, she's only a little girl, so...
Yes, but he wouldn't walk out on you and Jib. Doesn't make sense.
I know. But there is something wrong, Mike. You've got to try to help. He's going through some awful strain, and it's going to ruin him. It's even going to ruin us.
Until today, was the F-109B ever flown?
Yes, about, 3 months ago. It failed just like today. The pilot was a friend of ours, and he was killed. Well, very little was said about it at the time, because the jet is still top secret.
Can I find Les at the plant?
No. He left them, too. He's staying at the Ridgely Hotel in town.
Okay. I'll go and see him tomorrow. Stop worrying, will you? Everything will be all right. Need anything?
No, the company's still sending Les's checks. Oh, Mike, do you really think you can help?
I don't know, Martha. But I'm going to try. It figured that if I wanted to find out what was going on with Les Benson, the place to start was with his boss, Jim Cartwright.
Lanyard? You know, you being here would seem to indicate that you have some questions.
That's right. It's about Les Benson.
Well, when you learn about Les Benson, you also learn about the F-109B.
Oh, which means...
Michael Lanyard. Age, height, weight, residence, not specified. War record, reputation, interests. Seems that you could be classified as an adventurer, Mr. Lanyard.
Why did you get all this?
I needed it before I could send you an invitation to witness our last test flight. I had to know everything about you because I needed to talk to you. And what I had to say is classified as security.
I thought it was Benson who sent me the invitation.
No.
Well, now that you know all about me. What about Benson?
Well, up until about a year ago, Benson was doing most of our experimental flying. Then we began to see that his real genius lay in design, particularly in electronic design. That's when I put him on the Electronic Stability Control Unit.
What is it exactly?
Well, the speed of planes has passed the ability of man to control them. As we go faster, we need to keep an even pace with automatic controls.
Did Benson perfect such a control?
Yes, we thought so. Then about 3 months ago, we had our first high-altitude stability test. Plane dropped like a rock. George Willis, one of Benson's closest friends, was the pilot.
Yeah, I know. And Benson feels he's responsible, huh?
Well, he quit about 3 months after the accident, taking with him a lot of years of future aviation development.
But you have other engineers.
But of course we have. As a matter of fact, we did try to perfect the unit without him. You saw the result.
Yeah. It's none of my business, but just what are you trying to prove?
Mr. Lanyard, the sky is the limit once the barrier is broken. You name it. Mars, Jupiter, the moon. We'll have the battle won.
You've broken the sound barrier. What's the other?
No, the thermal barrier. That represents the amount of friction that is built up between the atmosphere and material going at high speeds. Built up to such a point that the plane and the pilot would be burnt to a crisp if it weren't for refrigeration. No, we can't try again until we have the control.
You mentioned the death of Benson's friend, George Willis. You think that was the real reason he walked out?
Yes, it could be. But then again, maybe he's just using it as an excuse. That plane, Mr. Lanyard, has value to many.
That's impossible. I've known Benson a long time.
That's what we sent for you. We need you to find out everything we can about Benson. I've tried, without success. We need him very badly. And I'm just an engineer. I'm not interested in conjectures. Just facts. I hope you'll decide to find them out for us. It'll help both of us.
Well, I'll do what I can.
Understand how a person feels when one day you realize you've spent your whole life devoted to one thing. Killing people.
You're off your rocker.
Did you know George Willis?
No.
A great guy, a good friend of mine. I killed him. Since then, I've killed another man, Kevin Law. You know, it's a funny thing. Someone would charge me with murder. If they did, I'd be a dead duck, because my murder was premeditated.
For a smart guy, you certainly come up with the wrong answers. Well, maybe it's a cover-up for something else, huh? World Aviation gave you a big chance. They thought you were man enough to see a job through. But no, things got rough, and when they did, you couldn't take it. You looked for an ivory tower. You're just like all the rest.
Okay, Mike. You see this? That glass was traveling about 50 miles an hour when it left my hand. Look. At all those broken pieces. Now, you tell me what happens to a man in the plane I designed when it hits the ground doing better than 2,000 miles an hour. What's your suggestion? I should go back to work? Build better planes, better to kill people with?
Listen to me. There are all kinds of jobs. You've got a job to do, and maybe it's tougher than most. Sure, you've failed twice, but yours is a job of experiment. Failure can occasionally mean death, but don't you realize that men like Willis and Law knew this? As I understand it, the success of this plane might mean all the difference to this country if trouble starts again.
I don't want to talk about it anymore, Mike. I don't want to talk about them anymore.
You're a liar. You keep talking about two dead pilots. Why don't you go back and do something about it? Find out what's wrong with that plane. When it's ready for another test, fly it yourself. Think it over, Les. Think about it carefully. It hadn't been easy to suggest that Les fly the jet. And then, as if coming out of a bad dream, Benson was back where he belonged. There were new designs, checks and counter-checks. The heat test, wind tunnel test, changes, rearrangements. I was glad Cartwright had asked me to stay. Benson had been working so hard he didn't have time to go home, but Martha didn't seem to mind. I listened to Benson and Cartwright going over the last check before tomorrow's flight.
We're all set. Adding titanium metal to this area in here should give us the necessary heat barrier for that whole wing section.
Oh, what about the air conditioning?
Well, that's checked out for about Mach 2.2. I don't think we ought to try for more than that.
What is Mach?
It's a term of measurement, representing the speed of sound at any given altitude. For example, at sea level, the speed of sound is approximately 745 miles an hour. From 35,000 feet up on into the ionosphere, the speed of sound is about 670 miles an hour.
That's where we went wrong before. I'm going to stay around tonight and check it out piece by piece. When that's in shape, all our problems will be behind us.
Okay. Well, you better start checking the pilot.
Who is he?
Send in Hellman.
Yes, sir.
Alanya, this is Chick Hellman, one of our best test pilots.
Hi. One of their best. It's always the same. Young lamb, meet the butcher. No one can fly that plane until I've checked out the stability control. And I'm not checking it out.
All right, Hellman. Be reasonable. The Air Force is flying a delegation down here.
I'm not killing any more pilots. You were right, Mike. You were the only one who said the right thing. Next time, fly it yourself. I knew when you said it that you were right. Well, I came back to finish the job that I'd started. But that means all the way. That plane doesn't leave the ground unless I fly it.
Well, you haven't flown the plane in nearly a year. You're not checked out in anything as hot as the F-109B.
Better let him fly that plane, Cartwright. It's the only way you might get through the thermal barrier.
Get out of here, both of you. I'm Benson. Unless you're here to the contrary, be on the flight ramp tomorrow morning at 7:30 in flight gear.
CL119 requesting open circuit for duration of test.
The request granted. State your altitude.
Altitude 25,000. Speed 0.8 Mach. Altitude 35,000 feet. Speed 0.95 Mach. Coming into the sonic barrier. Through the sonic barrier. Altitude 45,000 feet. Speed Mach 1.4. Altitude 70,000 feet. Speed Mach 1.7.
How high is he going?
He's there now, 70,000 feet. And at a speed of nearly 1,200 miles an hour.
Leveling off now. Coming downhill. Setting electronic stability control unit into operation. Pull out. Adjusted for a maximum speed of Mach 2.2. Going over. 60,000 Mach 1.8. 53,000 Mach 1.85. 50,000 Mach 1.95. Air conditioner function normal. Structure holding. 40,000 feet, Mach 2, slight yawing oscillation.
Yes. Please, God, take care of him.
That's enough, Les. Bring her out.
Mach 2.2. 35,000. In the thermal barrier, air conditioner at maximum, leading edges holding. Electronic stability control commencing pull out. Not pulling out fast enough.
The same thing happened before. The pull-out's too slow.
Right, the plane's going so fast it's impossible to pull it out. Flies itself into the ground.
Speed Mach 2.7.
It's going nearly 2,000 miles an hour.
Mach 2.8, temperature 140. Gotta release the manual.
Benson, the ship is going too fast to handle manual.
No choice. It's going into manual.